What is the answer? D or kuch? A. What is the question about? Consider the following pairs. Pollutants are given and what the XYZ diseases it causes is being asked. Arsenic, cadmium and mercury, and Blackfoot disease, Ita and Minamata disease. At least any one option you can identify. Mercury Minamata should be so much you will come across in the environmental textbooks. This you should at least know, even though you are confused in these two. So at least eliminate 3. 3 should be part of your answer. You can eliminate. B cannot be your answer. Now we are left with another 3 options. What to do? Which is in where you find this arsenic pollution. Recently there has been reports of arsenic pollution in groundwater. Which part of India is affected by this? Gangetic Plains. Gangetic Plains is the most affected region. From Uttar Pradesh, this region to West Bengal. But that is not the only area that is affected. You will see a graph in map in the next page. Almost throughout this is the most affected region from Punjab, Haryana belt and the eastern parts, Bihar, Jharkhand belt. But it is not the only place that is affected by arsenic pollution. Most of the part of the country have some more high levels of arsenic in the groundwater. How this groundwater is getting arsenic pollution? Mostly it is due to geological reasons. Or what is the reasons? Because the underlying minerals or rocks will have arsenic particles that get leached out by the water, and that is causing the groundwater pollution. At least these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 diseases you should be well aware of. These are based, name is either based on famous conventions or you come across these in very often. Cadmium, where you see the cadmium pollution? Cadmium batteries is there. Cadmium pollution is basically a water pollution. Where the water and sanitation is not there, you will find cadmium pollution. Mercury nitrate, where you find it? Last class we discussed on fertilizers. Fertilizers, all the process that is going on after applying the urea fertilizer. Urea fertilizer can also lead to leaching of nitrates into water, and this lead to water pollution. Blue baby syndrome is the disease it causes. Fluoride pollution is also a water based pollution. This will lead to bone disorder or skeletal fluorosis. So at least these 5 diseases you should be well aware of. Rest, if something very exotic is coming, it's very difficult to answer. Either there will be some current affairs linkages to this, but some basics is coming like Mercury's Minamata. At least that much base knowledge you should be having. Go ahead, answer the second question first. If you are watching, anyone is watching online, you can live chat your answers, what you are getting. Tell me what answer you are getting. B. What is the answer? Genome sequencing. Genome sequencing is best defined as, very simple question it is. Some basics we will discuss. What exactly is DNA? What exactly is this? Is DNA protein? DNA will make the protein or give instruction to make certain kind of proteins. So what exactly is DNA? Basically it is a molecule with function of coding information, and this information will be transmitted as hereditary characteristics. Now what is the structure of DNA? Double helix structure we have. DNA is composed of what? there will be a phosphate group plus 4 bases. These 4 bases will be adenine, guanine, cytosine and thymine. Now this phosphate and 4 bases, order of this is deciding the whole characteristics or genetic information that is stored in a molecule. What order this GCT and the phosphate bases are being present in the XYZ DNA. Now what RNA does? What is messenger RNA? RNA is also of different types. Messenger RNA is there, transfer RNA is there, tRNA is there. One more is the ribosomal RNA. What exactly this does is, this contains the information. Now this information, like skin color is white or black or whichever brown color you have the skin, this skin is produced at some XYZ place. At that place, this has to be, the protein has to be generated, or protein or the material has to be generated with that XYZ characteristic. This transfer of information is one of the major function of RNA. What else? What is gene? What is gene? For a specific protein or a specific cell molecule, what is the DNA code present in it? That is called gene. Like a set of DNA, we call it as a gene. What exactly is genome? That is much broader category. For an entire organism, what is this order of DNA or genetic information within this organism? That complete code we call it as genome. What else? What is genome sequencing then? Understanding the what is the exact order of this basis, how it is ordered in a molecule or in a DNA of an organism. Understanding this XYZ process is called as genome. Genome sequencing. Now, what are the famous genome sequencing projects? We discussed this in other class. We are not going too much deep into it. One is Human Genome Project. When it started? It is in late 1990s. It was going on. In 2023, complete human genome, it was completed, and the complete information on human genome was published. Even in this, even though we call it as complete information, only 92% of this arrangement was decoded. 8% we left. Why? It is not the active part of the DNA. It is not contributing something to the core function of DNA or genetic function it is carrying on. So that's why this 8% was not codified during this 2003 period. Now in 2023 or 2022, this 8% was also codified, and this information was published recently. This we covered in the other classes also. Now there is few Indian projects also going on. Intigen. All these projects also we covered in the class. You go and learn it. These are basics. Then these two are recent developments that is happening. Do learn about Indian various projects that is going on in this genome sequencing. Go ahead. Answer the third question first. Why exactly are we conducting this genome sequencing? One more thing after that, and answer the question. Why we are doing the genome sequencing? Genetic, like origin of genetic people, like origin ancestral characteristics you can know. Basic objective is different diseases, pharmaceutical application, different diseases, how it is impacting different people, how some people are having resistance against some diseases. All this information we can codify from having the genetic information. Go ahead and answer the third question. What exactly is the answer? C. Consider the following statement regarding superconductivity. What exactly is superconductivity? There is a Feynman definition of superconductivity. What is Feynman definitions? Like what is speciality of Feynman definitions which you come across normally? No, we are not discussing that much. Feynman definition we usually involves, he explained the concepts in very lucid manner, like every child can understand. So there's an explanation he given for superconductivity. And what he is saying is, suppose we have 50 students. Now the class is over, we have a narrow corridor to pass. Now what will happen if everyone is rushing into this corridor? Everyone will come and hit against each other. Two people will be coming in this direction, somebody will be going like this, somebody will be going like this, like we see in the metro. Everyone will collide against each other, and this will lead to some kind of resistance for movement in this corridor. Now what will happen when XYZ superconductivity is happening? All these people will be moving with a rhythm, moving as a dance. Now all these people will be moving as a rhythm means whichever resistance is there, that will be reduced to the minimum, and everyone will be moving in the rhythm. And this rhythm, how it is happening? What is the material that is moving in this electrical conductance? That is electrons. Now electrons are moving in a material, and the material will have a lattice structure. These are the substance which give resistance to the flow of current. Now when these electrons are moving, when they couple together, like few electrons couple together and they move together, that is when superconductivity happens. This process is called Cooper pairs. The process of coupling the electrons and making the movement across a conductor very smooth or very efficient, so that the net electrical resistance fall to almost zero resistance. This XYZ property is called as superconductance. What else you should know? Overcoming the repulsive force, Coulombic repulsive force. One more thing which you should know about superconductor is Meissner effect. What exactly is this? Batao. It will completely repel the magnetic field. Suppose a superconductor, we are conducting through the superconductor. Whatever magnetic field you keep this substance in, it will totally repel all the magnetic field. There will be zero magnetic field inside the whatever material, superconducting material that we are having. This effect is called Meissner effect, and pairing of electrons is called Cooper effect. Now let's try to understand this question. It is based on zero resistance exactly and no energy loss. If resistance is the one which causes the energy loss across a conductor, it will lead to no energy loss while carrying the current. Exactly right statement. It is observed only in very few materials when they are cooled below critical temperature. What exactly is critical temperature? It is the temperature at which below which the substances will exhibit superconductivity. Usually this temperature are like 4 Kelvin, 4.2 Kelvin. These are for normal materials. Now what scientists are working on? To develop some kind of high temperature superconductors, which will either work at room temperature or at a temperature which can be cooled in the XYZ different applications. So this is where researches are going on, and there is a recent research where high temperature superconductors are being made by applying high pressure. You apply extremely high pressure. So pressure is also a factor, not just temperature. Pressure can also play a role in achieving or not achieving the superconductivity. Some scientists recently have observed that extremely high pressure condition can lead to increase in temperature at which this superconductivity is being observed. So what is the answer here? Both these statements are correct. C is the answer. Go ahead. Answer the fourth question first. Fourth question, right? What is the answer? Batao. Consider the following statement regarding sound to wave. What kind of wave is sound? We have two kind of waves, longitudinal and transverse wave. What is the difference between them? What exactly a wave does? There are 2 points. Now energy is being transferred from here to here. Now this function is being done by waves. Now we have 2 kind of waves, longitudinal and transverse wave. Longitudinal waves means if this is the movement, the particle oscillates along these directions. This will be the oscillation level of these particles within these longitudinal waves. If a sound is creating, like you have seen this, some subwoofers like this. Subwoofers में क्या होता है? Sound will be coming like this, whichever direction. And the subwoofer, if you know, it will be vibrating in the same direction. Why it is happening? What exactly is sound? Sound is nothing but high pressure, low pressure, high pressure. This high pressure, low pressure system is exactly what sound is. This change in high pressure and low pressure, when high pressure is coming along this material, it will be lifted up. Then after that, next low pressure come, it will fall down. That's how this, what you observe in these subwoofers and speakers and all. Obviously medium is required because some medium is oscillating. The material, if water, sound is moving through the water molecules or the particles of the water are itself oscillating in longitudinal waves. Now what about transverse waves? If a wave is moving like this, transverse, best example is you take a rope in gym and all, you see some rope like this. You make a movement, some sine wave like that, it will go along the wave. Some rope will be like this, you create a movement, this XYZ disturbance you create will transfer across the different points of this rope. Now what exactly here is happening? The energy transmission is happening in this direction, while the movement of particles is perpendicular to the movement of energy or movement of the wave. These kind of waves we call it as transverse waves, like rope movement, or you put a stone in the pond. You put a stone in the pond, there will be ripples created. Now ripples will be traveling in a circular pathway, but if you look at the movement of individual particles within the water, it will be moving in a perpendicular direction. So these kind of waves we call it as transverse waves. Now tell me what kind of wave is an electromagnetic wave or light? Where light comes? Light is a longitudinal wave or transverse wave? Light is a transverse wave. What exactly is oscillating in this? Electric and magnetic field. These two things are oscillating in perpendicular directions. If a light is going like this in perpendicular directions, electric and magnetic fields are oscillating. So light is a form of transverse wave. And transverse wave, does it need medium? Some XYZ does need medium, but some XYZ doesn't also need medium. Light doesn't need a medium to propagate. But some of transverse wave, like we see in the pond and all, does require XYZ medium to propagate. Longitudinal waves, These are also called as mechanical waves. This compulsorily require a medium to propagate. Now try to answer this question. Sound wave is a mechanical wave, very much correct. Needs a material to travel. That's why you not hear XYZ, whatever is happening in the space. There is no transmission of sound in space between celestial bodies or space stations, satellites, anything. Like light, even in moon you will not hear anything, correct? Like light, sound waves are transverse waves. Light is a transverse wave, but sound waves are not transverse wave. Sound wave is a longitudinal wave. This is a wrong statement. First is right. Answer here is A1 only. Go ahead. Answer the fifth question first. बताओ क्या आंसर है? Different answers. बताओ क्या बोला? B. D. You said B. Now what is something you should take note of this? Like suppose you are not from a biology background, you are from engineering or non-science background. You don't know anything about any big things which is concept, pepsin, enzyme. All these words are new to you. But should you approach this? How should you approach this question? First thing is don't get scared of these words or don't get whatever XYZ is written here. Try to find a logical connect with whatever is given in the question. UPSC doesn't really expect you to be a doctor to give an answer to a question that is being asked in a prelims exam. So arrange the following process of digestive system in correct order of their occurrence. Salivary gland, salivary amylase breaks down starch. Where this can happen? So digestive order we have to understand. First process should happen in the mouth only. So 1 should be our starting point. Whichever that is not starting with 1, we already cut it off. Now we are left with 2 options. Now after mouth, where it is going on? Food or what you eat, what is going on? The pipe or oesophagus. Let's read this. Sphincter muscle release amount of food into small intestine. Okay, we know small intestine is not something the food directly goes into. It comes at the later part of the digestive process. Hydrochloric acid facilitates the action of enzyme pepsin. Where exactly you find hydrochloric acid? Acidity, all these issues are coming from stomach problems. Hydrochloric acid, you find it stomach, small intestine. Bile juice from liver helps make food alkaline and in digestion of fats. Bile juice, where it is coming from? Liver. Where can be liver? After stomach, like you eat something, through the pipe it is directly going into the stomach. From there, all the other processes are starting. Like liver may be there, then intestines may be there. Whatever the process is, it should come after stomach only. So 3-4 should be the order. Here 3-4 is there. Here it is 4-3. So obviously you can strike it not down. We have boiled down to only one option. Now come to the last option. We already reached the answer with 4 options. I absolutely don't know any of these technical terms. Or you may get questions like this. Approach should be don't get scared of this and try to connect, find a logical connect in this. Villi, the inner lining of the Small intestine increases the surface area of absorption. This is also something associated with intestine. Now try to find a connection across these. This should be 1, then this should be 2, this should be 3, and this should be accordingly 4 or 5, which you may or may not exactly know. If you want to know more, you can find this image, take the image, or you can pause the video and read down these things. Food exactly moves from mouth, then esophagus, that is the pipe that connects mouth to the stomach, then it comes to stomach. Then here you can, this triangle substance is liver. So here you can find that the liver, bile juice and all will be produced and introduced to the food. Here the food will be acidic, then it become alkaline by the bile juice of the liver. Then pancreas is there, it create enzymes to digest the food, complex food particles. Then this blue particle is pancreas. After that, food moves into small intestine, then large intestine, then out. Go ahead. Answer the 6th question first. ExoMars mission. Okay, tell me what is the answer? C. A. ExoMars mission was in news. Why it was in news? This was not a very recent mission. Like usually mission we study about the recent missions of NASA or ESA. But ExoMars mission was in news. Why it was in news? This was a collaborative mission between European Space Agency and Russian Aeronautics XYZ. Now this mission has been suspended after the Ukraine invasion by the Russia. So here if you at least read this current affairs news somewhere, you can easily eliminate this option. Now the first option is it will be a first mission to combine capability to move across the surface and study the depth of the Mars. This is exactly right statement. Here answer is A. What does this mission studies? It has 2 different components. One is the orbiter that orbit around the Mars and take the pics. Second component is a rover. Rover will has equipments to drill Mars and study seismic activities of the Mars. So for the first time we are studying the seismic activity and drilling the inside of the Mars is also subjected to analysis. Here answer is 1 only. Go ahead and 2016 mission it was. Answer the 7th question first. I know this question also for many people sound very exotic, but try to answer it. बताओ क्या आंसर है? क्या आंसर? बी 1 2 3 और कुछ? नो आंसर. Which one will you pick? So how you got B? Tell me this logic behind this. They grow on soil. All these किधर grow करता है? They will grow at certain height. They are like क्या बोलता है? Epiphytes or something like this. What is this bisexual plants and unisexual plants? Flowers? At least you know that flower is the reproductive part of the plant. Now, unisexual means there will be male as well as female reproductive parts. If both these parts are available inside a same plant, that kind of plants or that kind of flowers, we call it as unisexual flowers. Bisexual means bisexual is the one with both. It will have both. This we said by mistake. Both male and female reproductive parts is with the same flower. We call it as bisexual plants. In unisexual plants, there will be only either male component or female component. So this has to be transmitted from one plant to the other. Then only this flowering happen. Then only the fruit of XYZ thing will be generated. Now this can be only answered if you have at least seen this cultivation of cucumber or watermelon or something like this. If you have seen this cultivation, you can find that something plant like this is there. Suppose 10 different flowers has arrived in a plant. Even after forming 10 different plants, flowering will be like happening at a wide scale. But after that, only 4 or 3 cucumbers, 4 or 3 watermelons will be formed out of these flowers. What happened to rest of the flowers? Rest of the flowers are male flowers. They will just transfer their reproductive XYZ organ to the other plant by some means, some wind or some honeybees and all these. Then they die out. So only female plants, female flowers that absorb the XYZ sexual component from the male flower, that will be becoming the fruit. Rest all the plants die out. But this kind of a phenomenon you exactly doesn't see in a rose. In a rose you find that even though there is only one plant, it will still give you flowers. It will, that flower, if you by the end of every rose flower will die out and you can make seed out of it. Same goes with lily and sunflower. All these flowers are like, even if one plant is there or even if there is one flower, still it germinates, still every process is happening. But here you need two different, in both these cases, two different aspects are required. Here answer is C, 1, 4 and 5. Other examples of unisexual plants are, unisexual flowers are cone, squash, kiwi, date, palm, papaya. All these are unisexual. In bisexual you can see these are also called true flowers. Roses, sunflowers, lilies, all these come under, apple flower, all these come under bisexual flowers. Let's go ahead. Answer the 8th question. Which of the following are examples of nutraceutical food? What exactly is nutraceuticals? Try to separate this word. It contains nutrients and pharmaceuticals. So what exactly it can give? One, it should give dietary XYZ. Vitamins, proteins, all these supplement XYZ it should give. Secondly, it should have some medicinal properties. Now, which of these plants has medicinal properties? Answer is A. All these plants, all these foods are considered under nutraceuticals. Garlic, soya bean, ginger. What is the major pharmaceutical property these are having? Mostly it is anti-inflammatory properties. Or it is, any other examples you can? Antioxidants. Antioxidant properties are exhibited by garlic, soya bean as well as ginger. What are some of the other examples? Blueberries, green tea, turmeric, all this will be categorized under garlic, chia seeds, all this will be categorized under nutraceuticals. Areca nut. Go ahead, answer the 9th question. Tell me what is answer? A. Okay. Fission mode of reproduction. What exactly is this? There will be material, it will consume enough component, then it will split into two different materials. What happened to the DNA of this material? Same characteristics of the DNA will be forming in the offsprings also. So is this an advantage or a disadvantage? Disease is not the issue. What exactly this DNA does? This happens in fission mode of reproduction. This happens in very simple species like bacteria, like fungus and all these species. They can only undergo this fission mode of reproduction. In complex, in animals or plants, what happens is two different DNAs coming together. Then an offspring will be having a totally new type of DNA, that is combined characteristics of both of these. So what is the advantage in this process? Every next generation there will be refinement. What does this refinement means? Have you read this book Sapiens? What does the Sapiens say? Like why people like chocolates? Like mostly people like chocolates. It's very hard to find some people who doesn't like chocolates. What is, or sugar? Why people like chocolate and sugar? Sugar, what does it give? Instant source of energy. Now there may be 1,000 people before. Out of this, maybe 200 people doesn't like sugar. Those who eat sugar, what happens with them? They get instant source of energy, and some, maybe they are living in the forest, some attack is happening by some animals. Those who consume sugar, they have capacity to instantly break down it and generate energy and escape from the predators. While those who doesn't take sugar, what happens is they doesn't have this source of energy for generating energy instantly. They will die out, they will not reproduce. So the next generation, the number of people who doesn't like the trait, their chances of survival become less. Number of their DNA, if you take across the population, it becomes less. Now over the years, the same process is happening. Like every other characteristic, intelligence or eyesight, our eye is exactly, we cannot, what is the difference? We discussed the AI class we were discussing. Something which artificial intelligence can do very easily, like a complex mathematical problem, it can solve very easily. Human brain cannot do that. On the other hand, what human brain is capable of? Identifying patterns. We just need to look at a person, we can read his emotions without much mistake. But AI cannot do it. I find it extremely complex to read patterns or read emotions. Now, why this is happening? This trait is also evolved over the generations. Those who can identify the pattern, they identify the tiger is sitting there, or they identify some threat is coming, they escape. Those who cannot have that much capabilities to identify a pattern, they die out in the process, or that DNA traits will not get transmitted as much as the other traits which helps in survival. So all the human characteristics, all the species characteristics are undergoing this process. Now if a organism is undergoing fission mode of reproduction, this doesn't have this luxury. This will be the same DNA will be replicating in the here. What characteristics the parent organism has, same characteristic will be there in the offsprings also. That's why there is a very simple organisms can only do this fission mode of reproduction. Here answer is 1, 2 and 3. All these bacteria, algae and protozoa, all these can undergo fission mode of reproduction. Go ahead. Answer 10th question. Okay. Tell me what is answer. D, B. Which of the following are applications of quantum technology? What exactly is quantum technology? It works on principles of quantum physics. And what exactly is quantum physics? What is the main difference between classical physics and quantum physics? Batao. Classical physics applies to macro objects like stone, rock, celestial bodies. Everywhere we see is classical physics. On the other hand, quantum mechanics or quantum physics, this applies only to microscopic levels only, like electrons, protons, neutrons and all this. And if you look at this, they are what governs at the macro level and what governs at the micro level, there is some fundamental differences. And what is these fundamental differences? One is predictability. In macro physics, you can exactly pinpointly predict without any error. That's why we are able to launch satellites with exact precision. We launch a pre-programmed satellite, it should go there, it should consume this much of fuel, it should produce this much of thrust. After that, it go to that crater in the moon and it should land there. Everything we pre-programmed by calculating, doing the calculations on Earth. Then we send the satellite and it go exactly like this most of the cases. So this is highly deterministic. You solve the equation, you can find every variables associated with classical physics. But here there is uncertainty principle is governing. Like you cannot, if two properties are opposing each other or countering properties, you cannot identify both these properties at the same time. Best example is position and momentum. You cannot calculate position and momentum of two objects at the same time with high accuracy. Either you have to compromise on position or you have to compromise on momentum. What else? Principle of superposition. What is superposition? discussing the quantum computers. What is the why how these quantum computers are having superpowers or able to calculate the other normal computers take 10,000 years, quantum computers does in 200 seconds. So how this huge variation in processing power is occurring? Here it is deterministic. These computers works on binary. Here the variables can either be 0 or 1. Every digital data, every digital processing is happening by assigning either 0 or 1 value to it. But here you can, the variable x you take, it can take all the range of variables between 0 and 1. X can have any infinite number of values between 0 and 1. This opens up huge amount of processing power, and this opens up huge amount of extra capacity with quantum computers we are discussing. Second is entanglement. What exactly is entanglement? If two entangled qubit is having, this is having a property like above it, this is having a property like below it. Now, irrespective of the physical distance between these two qubits, wherever you place it, like you place one in this galaxy and place one in the other galaxy, you change one, there will be instant change in the other. This exact property is called entanglement. So these are physical properties you can only exhibit in, or you can only observe in quantum physics. In deterministic physics, no such uncertainty is there. It is highly deterministic in nature, classical physics. Now, try to answer this question. What are the applications? Very easy question it is. Capturing the direct images of black holes. When the image of black holes was generated? I think you might have seen the image also. Around 2019, the image was captured. Which telescope does this? Event Horizon Telescope. Whose satellite is this? Not NASA, no? This has to be checked, but ESA satellite is this. What this exact satellite is doing? This is not single satellite. An array of satellite will be placed in different parts of the earth, and all this data will be combined so that the whole earth will act as a single satellite or single absorber for XYZ rays. Whole earth will be acting as a absorber for the XYZ of cosmic waves. Then they analyzed this, processed it, and came up with the image of black hole. This has nothing to give and take with quantum mechanics or quantum physics. This was totally independent of quantum physics, so one cannot be our answer. Only we are left with B, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Encryption for securing critical infrastructure. This is why there has been a Chinese military satellite using quantum technology. So what this satellite is doing? It is implementing quantum cryptographic technology. This cannot be hacked. Like if your entanglement is used in principle of coding the XYZ information, if any of this information is touched by any other that is not intended, then you other information will also be touched, and you can instantly get the hack-proof technology, cryptographic technology can be used, developed with this. Improved and faster disaster prediction. All these are associated with quantum computers. Quantum computers means better processing. Better processing means more variables you can do into these climate models, this rainfall prediction, cyclones, all this you can predict with much higher precision. Finding cure of obscure and fatal diseases. Here there are two different applications. One is quantum computers that will give super simulatory powers. You can simulate each atom of a molecule and study the characteristics, how will respond in the human body. Second part is it can do quantum particles also act as vectors. Vectors means carrier of not only disease, carrier of anything. If some DNA particle has to be carried into a cell, then we use mostly we use some non-harmful viruses as vectors. But quantum particles can also be used as vectors. Quantum particles has so much application in the pharmaceutical sectors and all. To capture solar energy, here also quantum dot solar cells. What does it does? Solar energy means if you look at the electromagnetic spectrum, there is a spectrum of energy that is coming in the solar energy. Now what this silicon does, silicon based solar cell, what it does? It will have a threshold. If more energy is coming in the sunlight, it will absorb this and emit the electrons. Now this, where it went? This threshold of the silicon is fixed, like 0.7 electron volt. 0.7 electron volt means it is fixed. But you can design quantum dots so that you can have different variables of this threshold. So you can like absorb more different ranges from the electromagnetic spectrum, high efficient solar cells or solar cell which can absorb diffusion, sunlight, all these applications can be developed using quantum dots. So here answer is B, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Go ahead, answer the 11th question.